Where in the Dominican Republic are 88% of the projects delayed? You wanna know what? That statistic is... Imagine buying real estate someplace where 88% of the properties being built are delayed. And even a chunk of that never gets completed at all, ever. Just abandoned, walked away from, litigation, lawsuits, the whole nine. In today's video, I'm going to tell you everything they don't tell you about investing abroad, investing overseas. And this applies to any country, but I'm going to reference the one I live in and that I'm investing in, which is the Dominican Republic, specifically Punta Cana. I'll also share ways in which you can minimize the risk of losing your money investing in a place like the Dominican Republic or anywhere else not in the United States or Canada. We're going deep in this one, baby. Let's go. I recently visited the construction of my condo over in the Punta Cana Cortacito area, and I put it out there for all of y'all to see. And then I get all the interactions from people saying things like, investing in the Dominican Republic is risky. To which I say, how the hell do you know? That's a broad blanket statement to make, when in reality, risk is a function of every individual's risk tolerance. In fact, you go to a financial planner, it's the first thing they're gonna ask you. What is your risk tolerance? They'll give you little tests and quizzes and all this stuff to figure out how comfortable are you with risk? What kind of risk do you wanna take? How old are you? How much risk should you be taking at this point in your life? So let me be clear for those of you who are warning me about risk. I understand my risk, and I also understand how I've mitigated my risk. And if you want a little bit more on this, what I would tell you is you have to consider a place like the Dominican Republic and many other places that you invest abroad as speculative, which means you don't go all in. You use what I call sandbox money. Money that you don't want to lose, but you could afford to lose. It's not going to kill you if, for whatever reason, whatever you invest in goes away. Bitcoin, anyone? That sandbox has done well for me. I'm sure it's done well for many of you. But some of these shit coins and whatever that people invested in, hopefully they did it with just the thousands or maybe millions for some people and money that they could afford to lose. So when it comes to me investing in the investment being risky, you have no clue because you don't know my risk tolerance, my risk profile, or what percentage of my net worth or investable capital I'm using. So, yeah. In fact, this one's making me so, as a man, I'm gonna crack one open for this one. Yeah. Smirnoff, what real men drink. So sweet. Anyway, risk is a function of each individual's tolerance for it. So enough with the it's risky investing abroad. You have no clue about me, I have no clue about you. Let's just leave it there. Now, the next thing they don't tell you when you're investing overseas is how to run due diligence. Now, I'm not an expert, do your thing, but I've invested in the United States and I've had some level of success there with a few different tights, not like the ones you wear, got my tight pants on, but like tight standards that I adhere to. One is the developer or principal on the investment needs to be local to the investment. That's a tight of mine. Second, I need to see that developer or principal has gone full cycle before on a property, meaning they've built and finished it in the market that I'm investing in. So here I want to work with a developer, and I am, that has built and completed projects in Punta Cana and lives locally. Got both. And third, I like to see that that developer has actually had some really big failures. I want to know that they've lost. I want to know that they've got scar tissue, that they've been through some stuff and they've come out the other side and are still standing. You were around through the '08 crisis, you're already a leg up on any other developer as far as I'm concerned. And honestly, out of this current environment, as we come out of it in most of the country, most of the United States, for instance, those that survive and thrive on the other end, those are gonna be your new gritty developers, gritty contractors, gritty principals on real estate deals that you want to invest with. Now, the third thing that I would say they don't tell you about investing overseas actually has a lot to do with the people who rent my house in Michigan from me. When we moved here, we kept our home furnished with all utilities on, and we rent the house out to people that need it for a period of time, anywhere from 3 months to a year, maybe even a little bit more. Because it's furnished and utilities are on, we get a premium, and we have kind of specific people that we end up renting to, whether we want to or not. Most of the time, they are either building a new home and it's not ready yet, so they need a place to live in the interim, or they've been displaced either voluntarily or by some sort of insurance loss, like they might have had a fire or a flood and their home is being refurbished and redone, or they chose to do a big kitchen project or kitchen and bathrooms. They need a place to stay while that work is getting done. And you know what's true of 100% of the people that have rented from me with those circumstances? You want to know? You bet you do. they never ever get their home back when they were told they would. Here's the thing about investing overseas. Everyone and their mother is gonna freak out over the idea that the project that you just invested in, the delivery date got delayed. It's not gonna be ready for the 6 more months or a year past when they said it would be. And instantly, flashers go off about being scammed by this foreign world, this foreign country, when in reality, the same stuff happens in the United States, in Canada, and in any developed country. You ever try to work with a contractor? They're a pain in the ass. They just jump. They start your thing and then they get 80% of the way through, they jump to the next job and jump to the next job. Delays are part of the construction industry, whether you're in the Dominican Republic or you're in another country. And here's the thing, you will hear about every project that's delayed or goes over budget or whatever it might be, but you never hear the person shouting from the rooftops, hey, I got my project exactly what I paid for and when they said I would get it, which happens all the time as well, here and in the United States.
Yeah, but Jamie, that's the exception, not the rule. You know that.
Little aside, people that tell me what I know in the comments, they get on my nerves too. I gotta take a drink to that. Man drink, man juice, drink. Somebody watching this right now saw the thumbnail where it says 88% are delayed. And they're like, yeah, Jamie, get to it. Where in the Dominican Republic are 88% of the projects delayed? You wanna know what? That statistic is from the United States. According to a 2021 survey conducted by the Associated General Contractors of America, the AGC, in collaboration with a company called Autodesk, firms reported that 88% of their projects have delayed completion dates.
Yeah, but that was 2021, right after COVID. I mean, come on, let's be honest here.
Fair point, which I knew you would have, so I went deeper. In 2022, a Cornerstone Projects survey showed 50% were delayed. In 2023, it got a little worse. 40% are delayed, but 35% of those projects are being canceled outright or have not been rescheduled for completion. And the data gets a little thinner in 2024, but the one stat that I was able to find was the Project Stress Index, which shows that in March 2024, there was a 2% increase in delays or cancellations over the prior 30 days. So it's tracking down, obviously, post-COVID from 88%, which even though you know it was COVID, isn't that number insane? I'll bet you wouldn't have guessed 88% if I said, how many projects do you think were delayed in the United States in 2021 after the height of COVID? I would have said 60, 70%. 88 is big. Now we're talking 40 to 50% with a number of them being canceled. But there's still some of you folding your arms out there going,
You haven't sold me.
well, let's get even deeper then. I'm gonna give you some specific projects and examples in the United States to give you an idea of what does happen on the regular. And these are just a few. I'll throw them up on screen. Uptown Residences in Denver, Colorado. 461 condo units, started in 2009. Original completion date, mid-2024. Revised to mid-2025. That's a 1-year delay in the completion of construction. How about this one? Pacific Park in Brooklyn, New York. 22-acre project with high rises and affordable housing. Original completion date, you ready? 2016. Now the anticipated completion date, can you guess? Drop it down below, I'll wait. 2035 is the now expected completion date for that project. Oh, I have more. 161 Maiden Lane in New York City, a 58-story Seaport condo tower. It was originally expected to be completed in 2018. It has been halted indefinitely. And there are multiple lawsuits over the non-completion, the investor capital, and massive safety concerns on site. New York City, the Sandhurst in Las Vegas, Nevada, 36-story condo tower in downtown. It started in 2005. It was canceled in 2007. Even though they made sales, people bought units there. That land remains abandoned and undeveloped to this day. Look, let me make this point. When you're investing overseas or abroad, what they don't tell you is that many of the things that you feel as though are scary and scammy and everything else, some things that are gonna happen, also happen in the United States. So you do have to sort of measure for yourself how much of this is just your fear of the fact that you don't know enough about this country versus the reality of it being so different from what happens in the US. There are scammers in the United States. There are scammers in the Dominican Republic. There are scammers in Costa Rica and all of that. Where I think the real work needs to be done is on oversight. In the US, you've got the SEC. So there is a financial governing body that is heavily empowered to take down fraudsters. Dominican Republic doesn't have that as well. And a lot of developing nations where you might want to buy your dream vacation or future home, they don't either. I go back to make sure you understand how to vet and do due diligence on the developer and realtors that you're working with. Also, the United States has incredible building standards and inspectors that come in for electric and plumbing and everything else. That's not present here in the Dominican Republic, and I'm gonna guess that many Caribbean or developing nations don't have as aggressive an inspection process as you do in the United States or Canada or other places. On the other side of that, there can be overreach. Ever had to get permitting or whatever because there's so much freaking red tape in a city in the United States? I mean, let's not go there. But for sure, there could be standards raised. And if I were gonna fight anything, it's that. Raise the standard. Raise the standard of construction. Raise the standard of what gets done in the property. Make sure there are inspectors that are empowered and paid well to come out and ensure that the property is at least safely done and correctly done. But it doesn't happen right now. So what you do is you go back to what I talked about earlier. How do you vet the developer? It goes back to how much risk are you taking on here? I would not invest more than I'm comfortable losing in any investment, mostly except for maybe like a blue chip Procter & Gamble type stock or a great piece of real estate in a really great town in the United States. I would invest what I could potentially lose, but understand that if you do some work, if you get a great realtor who finds you a great developer and you do due diligence on that developer, you will absolutely mitigate the risk associated with investing overseas. Look, for those of you that are looking to invest in the Dominican Republic potentially, I have a link down below for two different things. One, if you need a realtor, I have 6 that I trust very much, and I can send you a connection to them if you're looking to buy here. I always feel and say that the realtor is the tip of the spear. Get a great one who's full-time, professional, knows what they're doing, has tremendous transaction volume in the past, and they're going to mitigate your risk of being scammed. They're gonna know the right developers to go with. So go through the realtor to find the developer. If you want a direct developer, I don't talk poorly or highly of any developer that I'm not currently invested in myself. The only one I'm invested in is Boardwalk, and I have a link down below if you want specifically to get involved with the property that I'm investing in to connect with Boardwalk. You can choose either the two or both. Talk to Boardwalk, talk to a realtor. Just please make sure that you're serious and not just tire kicking, just for the sake of their time and servicing all the people that I do send to them. Look, you do that work and you determine a developer to be reputable and your project's delayed. Is it any different really than if you have a reputable developer in the United States? Really? If a labor shortage in the US because of whatever it might be, deportations or any other reason is acceptable and understandable, don't you have the same thing in a place like the Dominican Republic where labor is being sent back over the border to Haiti? I am with you on improving standards. I am with you on improving government oversight to a level that is acceptable and reasonable without going too far. But I'm not with the people who just want to shit talk DR or other countries because it's not the United States. US has some stuff they got to figure out too. And I love my home country, the United States. This isn't about that. But one of the things that I've learned recently by sitting down with a whole bunch of locals, I put up a story on Instagram and said, hey, who wants to join me in 3 hours? I'm going to go to this place. And like 20 people showed up, which is really humbling. And what they said, all Dominicans who live in the United States and were visiting at the time, what they said was, look, I watch so many channels where all they do is talk negatively about DR, and they're mostly Spanish channels. They're mostly Dominicans putting out that content. I watch you, Jamie, because your stuff is positive. It's not glossed over. If you don't like something, you say it, but it's positive, and it gives me more confidence that the dream I have of potentially moving or buying down in the Dominican Republic can happen, and it absolutely can. But you don't want to be blind. You don't want to do it willy-nilly. You don't want to just trust the fact that it's the Dominican, they'll be fine, I'm Dominican, they're Dominican. No, you don't want to do that at all. But let's stop this whole,
Oh my God, there's a delay in my construction. I'm getting scammed because it's the Dominican Republic.
that hurts my heart. I understand that it happens, but essentially what you're saying is that Dominicans are scammers. Or on the other side of it, I hear all the time,
Jamie, where you live, Punta Cana is not the real Dominican Republic.
why? Because 80% of the people here are Dominican and they make a lot of money and they do well? What does that say to those Dominicans? Like, you can't be a real Dominican unless you're mired in poverty? Why can't Dominicans also be well-to-do? Why do we need to associate the Dominican people with scams and poverty only? I understand that both exist. They exist in every country, but why can't we associate this country with reputable and rich? Because both exist here as well. I see it every single day. And please save the, how could you, $400 a month is the average. That's not who's watching me, people. Just stop. I'm trying to get rid of all the dumb comments. Not the negative. You can disagree with me. I'm just getting rid of the,
Oh, how about I get you on this one, gringo? You know, the people don't make a lot of money. They're like,
no shit, Sherlock. I've lived here for a few years. I kind of get that. That does nothing to add value to this community. So just save it. But your questions, maybe there's some suggestions on who we need to band together and influence in order to get some of these standards elevated here. Because I want that as an investor. I want to invest more here. I want to own more here. I love this place. I think it's got a ton of potential. But this black mark of these scammer developers that we hear about, they create a broad brush approach for everyone looking at the Dominican Republic or wherever it might be that you're investing as like it's all that way. And people in the comments just go with it. I just don't live that way. You're not going to pull me into the negative. I don't live that way. I've never have. I never will. Things will go wrong. That doesn't mean things are bad. Real estate prices will crash. That doesn't mean real estate values long long term are going to be down. It doesn't mean the market's going away. It doesn't mean the island sinks into the ocean. But again, the title of this video, what do they not tell you about investing overseas? Boy, it's really similar to investing in the United States. Know who you're working with, work with the best, understand there's gonna be hiccups, invest what you can afford to lose. Is this crazy to anybody? I don't know. You know what? Smirnoff. Man drink. Man drink, people. You want to get deeper into due diligence and finding a great realtor? I'll put this video up right here for you to watch next. It hopefully helps you get some ideas on how you can do that vetting. Happy New Year, everybody.